On August 17th, 2015, a peculiar video appeared on YouTube showing something drifting through the summer sky. Exactly what it depicts left everyone scratching their heads, but most people agreed that whatever it was, it looked like a figure complete with 2 arms, 2 legs, a torso, and a head. According to the narrator, the flying humanoid was recorded 8 days prior in Sequoia Park, a 5-acre recreational area, which is just 7 miles east of downtown Los Angeles in California Park and Monterey Park. The video was captured during routine sky surveillance at a meetup hosted by LA's UFO Field Research Organization. The group, led by UFO enthusiast Fausto Perez, regularly convened to see if they could call down unidentified flying objects in the hope of providing some of the best video and photographic proof for their existence. On August 9th, 2015, it looks like they succeeded. During the rendezvous at Sequoia Park, attendees managed to capture a strange figure on video suspended high above the California sky. It appears to be decked out in a white or silvery spacesuit, although it is too far in the distance to make out any real details. There appears to be a clear seam between the shoulders and the neck, suggesting a helmet of some kind. Unlike some similar sightings, the figure bears distinct appendages and seems unambiguously arranged in a humanoid configuration. Whatever it really represents, it looks like a person. Now, Fausto claims that his UFO Field Research Organization had captured other humanoid figures in the sky earlier in 2015, though these are far less distinct than their August sighting. Over the course of the Sequoia Park video, Fausto Perez and his fellow UFO aficionados claim to notice several curious aspects. The figure remains upright through the entire sighting. It rotates. Its helmet bears a narrow visor or eye slot. Its arms and legs show clear separations at the joints. It appears to wear something behind its back, and it seems to hold a little weird dot or orb in its hand that maybe disappears from time to time. Now, in this day and age, it's really easy to dismiss every bit of mysterious footage as a CGI hoax. However, the Sequoia Park footage recorded on August 9th, 2015 comes from no less than 3 separate sources, all from slightly different angles, suggesting that there was indeed something in the skies above Los Angeles that day. One camera angle is focused in at a 60 zoom, another 80 zoom, while the third provides the best clarity at 220 zoom. The third camera captured the figure using a telescope connected to an SLR Sony camera at 24 megapixels. When the footage appeared online a little over a week after the sighting, it caught the attention of everyone who researches the unexplained. UFOologists said it clearly represented evidence that Earth was being visited by intelligences from other worlds, beings with technology capable of levitating themselves into the sky, free of any aircraft or spacecraft. Cryptozoologists were quick to toss the Sequoia Park flying humanoid onto the pile of evidence for other creatures like Mothman. Some paranormalists suggested it might be a demon or a ghost. Skeptics, of course, said that the footage must have a mundane explanation, perhaps a person in a jetpack, a drone, or an escaped balloon. Most of us simply didn't know what to make of the figure in the footage. Wherever you land, however, it is impossible to deny that something is going on. Alongside sightings of flying saucers, people see with alarming regularity something that researchers have dubbed unidentified flying humanoids, or UFHs. The Sequoia Park video is not the only time a UFH has been caught on camera. In fact, tons of videos from around the world have claimed to capture similar beings gliding through the air, and for whatever reason, sightings in North America tend to cluster around Southern California down into Latin America. For example, between 2020 and 2021, numerous airplane pilots traveling to and from Los Angeles International Airport reported seeing what appeared to be a figure cruising through the sky at altitudes as high as 6,000 feet. All eyewitnesses agreed it looked like a person, perhaps someone wearing a jetpack. The first two sightings came from two separate airline pilots who first spotted the intruder hovering at about 3,000 feet above the airport on August 30th, 2020. Recordings clearly indicate the first pilot saying, "Tower American 1997. We just passed a guy in a jetpack off the left side, maybe 300 yards or so about our altitude." The second pilot, a pilot for Southwest, confirms, "We just saw the guy passing by us in the jetpack." Further sightings would include a China Airlines pilot seeing a flying object like a flight suit jetpack at 6,000 feet. A pilot and flight instructor capturing video of what appears to show a jetpack at 3,000 feet. And another pilot who saw what he jokingly referred to as Iron Man at 5,000 feet.
That was 3626. Did you see the UFO?
We were looking, but we did not see Iron Man. That was 3626.
By all appearances, someone, or something, was violating the airspace around LAX with a jetpack. However, just when skeptics believed that they had finally cracked the case and solved the mystery, the case grew even stranger.
We just saw the flight object, like a flight suit just passing by us.
Flying object, was it a UAV or was it a jetpack?
Like a jetpack, too shiny and too fast.
In November of 2020, the crew of a Los Angeles PD helicopter captured some of the best images of the LAX UFH. Everyone at LAPD was surprised to see, of all things, something closely resembling the fictional character of Jack Skellington. You know, the one from The Nightmare Before Christmas. Though it's difficult to say precisely what the images represent, they do appear to show a balloon. Exactly why a balloon of the character had been released into the sky and how it was being propelled left everyone baffled. Although it doesn't necessarily seem to have a supernatural explanation. Now, that isn't to say that all UFH sightings involve balloons or jetpacks. Some seem much more sinister and paranormal. On November 27th, 2004, 11 years before the Sequoia Park footage, Ed Sherwood, a British UFO and crop circle researcher living in California, caught something truly bizarre on video. Ed and his wife, Chris, were walking their dog just after 10 in the morning when he noticed a shape in the sky. In those first moments, Ed suspected that he was seeing a chopper, given its speed, trajectory, and altitude. However, as he watched, the researcher changed his mind. The object was simply too small and too quiet. In fact, it wasn't making any noise at all. What's more, as he squinted at the object, Ed was sure that whatever it was looked like it had the shape of a person. Ed rushed home to grab his camera, leaving Chris behind to keep an eye on the UFH. And when he returned, Ed powered on the camera and did his best to capture what they thought they were seeing on video. He tried for around 15 minutes, but the distance and speed of the object made keeping it in frame difficult, especially when zooming in. Ed was able to record only a few moments. After reviewing his footage and combining it with his initial impressions, Ed deduced that the object had been positioned roughly 700 feet above his Santa Monica neighborhood. It looked like it might be between 7 and 8 feet tall if it had stood on the ground. While roughly the shape of a bulky human with outstretched arms, the figure revealed a wild detail. It seemed to display 6 appendages rather than 4. Now, Ed posted about his sighting on his website. In March of 2007, he received some correspondence that seemed to support the reality of his sighting from 3 years earlier. The reader, who chose to remain anonymous for fear of ridicule, said this: "I have a friend who will remain unnamed that is a serviceman on Edwards Air Force Base, who encountered what he and his partner recognized to be a human-shaped silhouette floating above the local church. While driving towards the church, they both looked at it in awe, attempting to figure out what they both concurred to be seeing. Once verbally mentioning it, the UFH began to approach their vehicle and follow them to their work quarters, 10 feet in front of their vehicle and approximately 40 feet above, with precision trailing. Whatever it was, because it was following his vehicle. Being seen more times throughout the day, 2 other members saw the UFH and later wrote my friend an email stating, "I hope you guys aren't playing any pranks because I just saw what you guys were talking about and it wasn't a pleasant encounter. I googled flying shadows and came to a video of the Mexican flying humanoids, which resembled what we all saw on the base. This is not a joke. My friend is within blocks distance of where this occurred on base and was frightful. His words when he encountered this sighting, I thought this was something evil. It looked like the Grim Reaper. It was so close and so clear, but we stared in astonishment, trying to comply what we were looking at. It looked like a dark-clothed person just floating above the church. It was surreal." After explaining to me what happened, he mentioned that the hairs on his arms were standing up and he didn't think he could sleep tonight. This is what we call a Russian nesting email, or inception mail. An email from an anonymous source describing an email from an anonymous source, and so on. While Edwards Air Force Base is over 70 miles inland from Santa Monica, as the crow flies, or as the UFH flies, it is interesting to find yet another example of a flying humanoid in this corner of Southern California. The letter that Ed received also referenced the Mexican flying humanoids. Now, this alludes to the proliferation of UFH sightings occurring south of the border. Since around the year 2000, numerous videos and photographs have emerged throughout Mexico, all of which seem to show more or less the same thing. Human-shaped objects flying through the skies without any visible apparatus to account for their levitation. One of the more famous and controversial bits of evidence was taken on May 17th, 2006 by a UFO group out of Nuevo Leon. As in the Sequoia Park footage recorded in LA in 2015, the researchers were hoping to catch visual evidence of UFOs. Instead, they found something quite different. The researchers had chosen a mountainous location north of Monterrey's Cerro de las Mitras for their UFO stakeout. Sometime during the course of this visual, they recorded something small crossing the sky above the landscape. The witnesses said that an eerie silence had fallen over the mountains in the moments prior to filming. When viewing the footage, it is difficult not to see what appears to be the classic image of a witch, complete with a pointed hat, stepping off of a nearby mountain peak before gliding through the air. For around 2 minutes, the figure travels above the vegetation in a smooth, even trajectory before continuing onwards in the foreground past the mountain. When the image was enlarged, analysis of the video seemed to show that the figure might have carried something in its arms. Quick! Someone check for Toto. However, similar analysis also suggests the presence of fraud. One of the most common accusations holds that the so-called witch was actually a dummy pulled along a wire or cable stretching the entire length of the valley. Today, the jury is still out on the authenticity of the May 17th, 2006 footage. If it's genuine, it may actually suggest that UFHs indeed exist. If it's a hoax, well, then it is exceptionally well perpetrated. One can only imagine the time, cost, and effort required to string up enough cable to allow for a 2-minute flight to be captured on camera. Although not accompanied by any photographic or video evidence, another incident from the same area just 2 years earlier suggests that maybe a witch or a bruja might indeed haunt the hills of Monterey. Just a short drive from where the May 17th, 2006 footage was taken, a law enforcement officer from Guadalupe, Nuevo Leon, reported an attack by an airborne assailant. Officer Leonardo Samaniego was patrolling the Colonial Valles de la Silla neighborhood early the morning of January 16th, 2004. At around 3:15 a.m., he turned down Alamo Street and immediately knew that something was wrong. Something fell from a distant tree, but stopped to hover in the air briefly before landing on the ground. At first, Leonardo thought that it was just a black plastic garbage bag caught in the wind. However, as he approached, the shape turned, and in the full light of his headlights, the police officer was able to make out more details. Leonardo said this: "It was a woman, all dressed in black, that fell from the tree, but she did not touch the ground. She remained floating several feet from the ground. I saw her very well, and then she landed softly on the ground and stood there looking at me. She was trying to cover her face from the lights of the car. I think they were bothering her. I could see 2 big black eyes on her, completely black without eyelids, and her skin was dark brown. She was all dressed in black with a cloak and a cape like a witch, and she seemed very upset by the lights. The figure then leapt into action, closing the distance between itself and Leonardo's squad car in a single second. Leonardo said that the bruja fell upon the windshield and immediately began trying to get inside, clawing at the glass. And Leonardo instinctively threw his vehicle in reverse, trying his best to avoid looking at the horrid creature. And as he did so, he also tried to request backup assistance via radio. But when he reached the end of the street, Leonardo says that he was so overcome with fear, he immediately passed out. Now, Leonardo Samaniego was revived just moments later by several other officers who had arrived on scene. They called an ambulance to assist in their comrades' recovery. Everyone present agreed that Leonardo was clearly in a state of shock. Leonardo shared his story, which naturally led to suspicions that he might have just been hallucinating. However, subsequent tests in the local hospital failed to reveal any psychological condition or overwhelming stress that might have caused such a vision beyond the actual encounter itself. Tests also failed to reveal the presence of drugs or alcohol in Leonardo's system. Now, in the coming weeks, other people in the same neighborhood, including 3 other police officers, would then step forward to claim that they, too, had seen the bruja of Colonia Valles de la Silla. Leonardo Samaniego's sighting would become one of the best documented encounters with an unidentified flying humanoid, eventually covered extensively on the popular television program Monster Quest. Now, the fact that local news dubbed the creature that Leonardo encountered a bruja, or Spanish for witch, speaks to the manner in which UFHs have been thought of over the years. Now, among indigenous populations especially, anything seen flying through the sky is rarely ever thought of as an extraterrestrial craft or creature. Rather, these communities tend to think of unexplained aerial phenomena as solely the domain of spirits, witches, and wizards. Patrick Harper, author of the 2003 book Demonic Reality, wrote this: "It is widely assumed that because anomalous lights in the sky are interpreted as UFOs, whatever that implies in all westernized areas of the world, this is the most widespread interpretation. But the natural interpretation of such lights in most tribal societies would be witchcraft. It would be hard to find a society which does not hold, or has not at one time, held a belief in witches." Harper then goes on to cite some of the people of Western Kenya who see lights in the sky and blame them on witches rising and lowering the lids of the covered fire pots which they carry with them on their treks through the forest and across the sky. Similar beliefs are equally prevalent in Latin America, a fact that might account for the enormous influx of UFH sightings in this part of the world. For example, La Lechuza is a witch from Mexican folklore who has the ability to transform into a gigantic, hideous owl. Cryptozoologist Ken Gerhard, who devoted an entire book to flying humanoids in 2013, has collected numerous Lechuza stories well over the years. Ken wrote this: "One San Antonio resident related to me that his parents had told him Lechuza was a bird with an ugly woman's head, and that if you hear her scream, you will die within the year. An older Mexican gentleman explained to me that a scary black bird, like an eagle, had been shot near the village where he grew up, and it was said that when the body was recovered, it had transformed into a woman who was widely known to be a witch by the locals." Of course, witches have little place in the minds of UFOologists who, despite believing some kooky things themselves, more often than not claim to approach topics like UFHs from a more scientific perspective. To the ufological mind, sightings of human-shaped things in the sky, like the 2015 Sequoia Park footage, represent not paranormal magicians, but rather visitors from another world. Ken addresses this in his book as well, writing, "I find the link to UFOs most compelling, particularly when we contemplate the ancient accounts of airborne gods from the heavens that are prevalent in so many cultures. A multitude of flying humanoid episodes seems to be accompanied by UFO activity. Point Pleasant was flooded with lights in the sky during Mothman's primary reign. Houston's Batman was seemingly spirited away by a torpedo-shaped object, and aeronauts were hovering around the skies of Washington State and Mexico following major UFO flaps. For prognosticators or extraterrestrial conspiracies, this seems like a slam dunk. Our flying humanoids are merely visitors from another world, and their historical presence here is far beyond the realm of human comprehension. However, few people seriously entertain the idea that human-like entities travel our skyways. Skeptics correctly point out that a vast number of other things can be found in the air nowadays. Balloons and drones must surely account for at least some, if not most, unidentified flying humanoid sightings. This is before we even acknowledge the presence of undisclosed military technology, or, of all things, jetpacks. What was once the domain of science fiction has become a reality in recent years. In fact, one might easily map the explosion of UFH sightings onto the rise of commercially available jetpacks, which really took off, pardon the pun, sometime around 2005. Now, since then, more and more models have begun to appear in all shapes and sizes. Some are even available for purchase. If, you have a spare $400,000 lying around, you can pick up your very own jetpack aviation speeder model. But wait, there's more. Because of how new this technology is, no federal regulation specifically oversees the use of jetpacks. Just stick to the same rules you would when flying a drone, and you'll be legally allowed to fly wherever you want. This isn't to say that the UFH sightings are mundane. Some might constitute genuine anomalies. But combine the fact that this technology is available with the number of UFH sightings that seem to show someone in a jetpack, and it stands to reason that sometimes that's all it is. An airborne daredevil with too much money burning a hole in his or her pocket. But what about the footage recorded in Sequoia Park on August 9th, 2015? Is this just yet another jetpacker, or is something else going on? If we can't answer the unidentified flying humanoid phenomenon as a whole, maybe we can get to the bottom of this one story. Now, as mentioned earlier, the Sequoia Park footage was uploaded to a YouTube channel operated by the UFO Field Research Organization. While that name sounds especially official, the group seems to be primarily run by Fausto Perez. The channel is quite old, and the very first videos Fausto uploaded were in 2006. Most of the earliest videos show pet reptiles, pet birds, and snapshots of home life. It doesn't look like Fausto's first UFO video appears until 2013. The Sequoia Park footage is by far the channel's most popular upload, with nearly 1 million views. The question then is whether or not the UFO Field Research Organization is even legitimate. Some people may look through the channel's catalog, which includes such gems as Hillary Clinton buys sex toys and HIV oranges, and automatically assume that the channel is not credible. Now, the more concerning thing about the channel is Fausto's source of inspiration, the YouTube channel Third Phase of Moon. Now, several websites online assert that Fausto was inspired by these videos, and Fausto's own channel claims that he was taught how to summon UFOs by Robert Bingham, who learned about through Third Phase of Moon. Third Phase of Moon is widely regarded, even among ufologists, as a hoax channel. This reputation seems to have rubbed off on Fausto to some degree. In fact, the website UFO Theater lists Fausto Perez as one of several YouTube channels and websites producing and promoting UFO hoaxes. Their entry reads this: Fausto Perez, another balloon show in which light reflective inflatables of various shapes drift lazily across the sky. The hook for this channel seems to be the coverage of people's live reactions to the balloons as they're being taped. Now, as for the 3 individuals who recorded the flying humanoid at Fausto's event, Yasmin Joyner, Jonathan Cassidy, Castro and J. Hans Lee, little about them is easily found online, so let's be charitable here. Now let's not assume the 3 videographers were hoaxers. They were just along for whatever happened that day in August. Let's not criticize Fausto's affinity for third phase of moon. Inspiration doesn't mean association. Let's not say it's silly to summon UFOs. After all, some groups claim to obtain great results using these techniques. Let's not assume a hoax when simple misidentification might have been at play. I mean, was there anything else in the sky on August 9th, 2015 that might account for the footage taken in Sequoia Park? Now, a possible answer would not come until over 2 months later, because a video uploaded on October 25th, 2015 shows a fun little experiment carried out by some faces that might be familiar to you today. Good old Nico Puringer and Sam Gorski of the popular YouTube channel Corridor Crew. Now, the 2015 video was uploaded by Node, a channel primarily focused on gaming, which Nico and Sam are associated with. Now, in their fun little experiment, they decided to kick a Mylar Star Wars Stormtrooper balloon in the crotch. The balloon appears almost life-size. Similar Stormtrooper balloons stand about 70 inches tall, just short of 6 feet. They got the footage they wanted, but the impact to the stormtrooper's crotch sent the weights flying. The stormtrooper took off into the air and soon was out of range of the BB gun, and the balloon went flying and flying off into the clear blue California sky, never to be seen again. Or was it? The stormtrooper is a close match for the figure filmed in the Sequoia Park footage. The apparent seams at the joints, the visor, the distinct helmet, the shiny surface, I mean, it's almost a perfect match. If the 2 locations are close to each other, perhaps the UFO watchers simply saw the aftermath of Node's prank. Now, if you watch the Stormtrooper balloon video carefully, an address appears around 35 seconds in: 2458 Hunter Street, Los Angeles. Google Street View confirms that this is indeed the location where Node shot their video. Using Google Maps, you can see that Sequoia Park in Monterey Park is only 15 minutes away, a straight shot of just 5.28 miles to the northeast. If we reasonably assume that the wind was blowing west to east, this would bring the Stormtrooper balloon well into view for Fausto Perez and his UFO field research organization to film. The only problem with the Stormtrooper balloon explanation is the upload date. It was released 77 days after the Sequoia Park footage was recorded. Now, this might mean that Node's experiment took place after the footage of the flying humanoid, but at the same time, it might also indicate that the Stormtrooper balloon video was recorded on August 9th, but not fully edited and uploaded until October. This detail might seem small, but is far from inconsequential. It provides believers a little room to entertain the possibility that the Sequoia Park footage actually shows a visitor from another world tracing through Earth's atmosphere. And who knows? That might be the case in a few rare examples. There have been tons of unidentified flying humanoid sightings in recent years, and there are few indications that the trend will let up anytime soon. There isn't any single answer to the UFH question, though. People are likely to see a wide variety of things, from balloons to drones to people in jetpacks to outright hoaxes, and yes, maybe even something genuinely unexplainable. It's important to exercise open-minded skepticism whenever you see something strange in the sky. Be prepared. You might find yourself saying, "It's a bird! It's a plane!" It's BS. But more importantly, I want to know what you guys think. Is the footage captured that day in August really just the Stormtrooper balloon that just happened to blow in that direction and was caught on camera for all to see? Or is this really a strange, unidentified humanoid figure drifting through the sky, ready for its 15 minutes of fame? I'll let you decide this mystery. And if you guys enjoyed today's episode, be sure to go ahead and smack that like and subscribe button for more content just like this, and especially this Real or Hoax series. As always, I love you all, keep an open mind, and I'll catch you guys all in the very next video.